Greetings, everyone. Master Grogan here. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, welcome to another live stream, Grogan's Bullyproof and Kicking Life podcast. Thank you so very much, as always, for taking time out of your busy day to be here. Now, as a reminder, I'm going to do everything I can to not only bring on the best guests, but continue doing research, continue doing what I can to empower myself with righteous thoughts and positive motivation and everything I can do to help empower your life, to help you live that best kick in life. And for our new listeners and new friends, what is bullyproof? Well, bullyproof is believing in yourself, overcoming your challenges, battling through your fears, to stand up to any bully you face, having that bullyproof armor. And we all face bullies, whether real or in our mind, we face them. So I want to empower you to have that strength, that perseverance to battle through. And then the kick in life, that's the secondary phase, man. The kick in life is after you've overcome your challenges and battles. Doesn't mean it's ever over. You're always going to have to face new ones when you reach a higher level of learning and understanding, but you're striving toward that kick in life. And all that simply means is you're utilizing your God-given talents to kick life's butt for a chance and live the life that you were meant to live by utilizing the gifts that you've been given. Sound good? Well, awesome. Well, good stuff. Well, this is episode number 309 on our podcast, and this is the Spotlight Show. And if you get a chance to tune in on Thursdays, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we do the live stream so you can actually see the Spotlight guest. You can interact with the show. You can ask questions and be a part of it. And heck, we've got people jumping on already saying two of my favorite businessmen. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm not sure who said that, but it says Facebook user. Well, God bless you. Thank you. The check's in the mail for that wonderful compliment. Thank you. And our guest, I can't give it away who it is. If you see him on the screen there, you know who it is. He's smiling a big old smile there. And that's another reminder, those that just listen to the podcast, that's great. Listen to something once is better than none at all. But I encourage you to listen Thursday while we record this baby live, because there's no edits. We goof up, you see it, you hear it, and you get a chance to ask questions. And then you can listen to it again when it airs on Monday. And I promise you, when you listen to something more than once or you read a book more than once, you're always going to pick up on something that you may have missed the first time. Why? Well, your mind can only digest so much at once. And you're also, when you listen to a second time, you're at a higher level of learning. All right. So who is our guest today? Oh, another pop-up. Really glad to see this is live. I watched the Alley show, and you got me hooked. Well, thank you. I see who that is. That's Mr. David Popper. So God bless you, David. Thanks, brother. Continue to share. All right. We're on to our spotlight guest. He's a golf pro, entrepreneur, owner, and head PGA professional at Oak Brook Golf Club in beautiful Edwardsville, Illinois, my former hometown forever and ever and ever. And a lot of my heart is still there. I love Edwardsville. He was also the #1 PGA Junior League captain in the USA in 2020, a two-time NCAA academic All-American, and 2014 Gateway PGA Player of the Year, and 2016 Gateway PGA Professional of the Year. He's a leader in the community, hosting countless golf tournaments, teaching and coaching clinics for all ages, and I mean all ages. And he does the work he does with kids. And obviously you guys that know me and listen a lot, I taught PE for 11 years, and a big part of our martial art academy is working with kids. It takes a special talent to work with kids, and it takes you being a kid inside in order to connect with kids. And I often say that, and our guest is kind of the same way. I've known him for a number of years. We're nothing but little kids trapped in this adult body. So we want to share that wisdom, that experience, that knowledge with anybody we have an opportunity to do so with. We also unparalleled donations and community service. I mean, he's always giving, always just a tremendous, reputable part of the Edwardsville community and surrounding communities. He's also an amazing husband and father. And just like everybody that we have on the show, and just like all of you out there, has had his ups and downs. Life is not sunshine and rainbows. And every success he's had was built on years and years and years, and then probably some more years of dedication, training, hard work, and perseverance, and not giving up, and not succumbing to the temptations to give up and quit, which we've all face, right? Well, who am I talking about? And who's going to be sharing amazing stories with me today? Well, you can see him on the screen there. Owner, golf pro, amazing, wonderful human being, Mike Suhre. Mike, how we doing, buddy?
Doing great. That was that. I'm gonna have to watch that or on recording. That's one of the best intros. I feel better about myself already listening to you talk. So, doing fantastic, and honored to be here.
Awesome. Well, it's all true, my friend, and I'm grateful and blessed. I know how busy your time is, everything that you're doing. So the fact that you're able to carve out a little bit of time for us and the listeners and viewers there, gosh darn, that means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to them, and we're super, super excited. Now, I do my best when I put together the kind of the write-up there. You send me your things, and then I do a little stalking on your bio and stuff to find other things that may be you're so humble that you don't want to not say confess to, but it's hard as heck to talk about yourself. I always, when I go on shows and people say, "Hey, tell us a little bit about yourself," you're like, "Oh gosh," it's tough. So I do my best to save you from having to do that, but then at the same time, I want to make sure if I miss any accolades or anything that you feel is relevant, please share.
I will just say that I love what I do, so that allows me to do all the things. I'm honored that you said I'm a good husband and father. That's probably the most important, and that's the one I sometimes people forget about. But that also takes a lot of work, and so appreciate that you said that.
Yes, it does. Well, I know your wife and your kids, and have known you for I don't know how many years, and then we really had a chance to connect a few years ago at the PGA Championship
Right,
there
right.
at Belle Reve, and I had my brother-in-law Noah, who's also a golf pro up in Tampa now, and it was kind of cool being behind the scenes and getting a chance to chat with you, and of course, your mom actually took my water aerobic class 20
Yeah,
something years ago at our health club and spa.
yeah.
And that was fantastic. And the family's all doing good. Mom's doing good.
All doing good. Yeah, I'm up here at the golf course with my dad. He's walking around with his dog outside in the cold, checking on stuff down in the shed. So yeah, all's good.
Dad's still plugging away. That is
Yeah,
fantastic. And the folks that are watching and listening, there's a kind of a behind the concession area of
yeah,
Oak Brook Golf Course there. So Mike is live on set, so to speak.
yeah,
And you shared with me before we got on the air that we've got typical Midwestern weather going on there right now.
yeah. Yeah, it's probably there's supposed to be snow flurries this afternoon, but I think it's supposed to be sunny and warmer tomorrow. So you get used to it. It's not Florida though.
Ups and downs. No, it's definitely not Florida. I'm blessed and honored to be in Florida. Although we had quite the wind blowing today, and we had our gator, which is in a pond. We got a pond in our backyard here, and he was out sunbathing today. And I think he's been eating pretty healthy here. He's gotten much bigger, so we got to be careful letting the dog. And I
Yeah,
text the neighbors who let their dog run around and got a couple of little kids, and I say, "Hey man, be careful, the gator's out." Well, all the neighbors kind of came out to take a peek at the gator, so it's something we didn't have to worry about in the Midwest, but here golfing, you got gators everywhere.
yeah. We're watching bald eagles fly around. We have a bald eagle nest out here, and they're flying around today getting fish. So
Oh, that's
entertaining,
fantastic.
but not
I
as
bet it
dangerous as
is.
an alligator.
What's that now?
I said not as dangerous as an alligator. Don't have to worry about them.
That is true. Well, we're told you don't feed the gators and let them do their thing, and they won't become. Apparently, when you feed them, that's when they feel like they're a pet. They keep going up there for food, and according to Bobby Boucher, their medulla oblongata
Yeah.
isn't very big. All right, so let's get at it here. Oh, first things first, I always forget this, and I got it in my notes as a reminder. Please give a shout out to your family there. Everybody loves hearing their name on the air. So please, wife, kids, and parents, give them a shout out.
Well, to Mandy, Drew, Ryan, Allie. I got 5 dogs. I won't name them all. I got a cat. My parents, Larry, you'll see him in the background walking around. My mom,
We just saw him make a cameo.
yeah, he's back in there. And then my in-laws, Rod and Marty Spears, live out here on the golf course with us. So kind of a close-knit family. We're all together, and none of what I do would be possible without all of them. So thanks to you.
Oh, fantastic. And so humble as always, Mike. Thank you very, very much. All right, well, let's get into this thing here. And folks just listening, I just like to do a back and a forth. We talk about life and what Mike, many more things that he's doing, not only with golf, with just life and being the husband that he is and the father that he is, and then, of course, being the son and then son-in-law, all he's doing there. My goal is for him to share some of those lesson stories with us so we can pick some different golden nuggets that are going to help empower us in whatever area of life that we might be struggling or we might be succeeding in, but we want to reach a higher level. So I kind of described you as similar to me and being a little kid trapped in an adult body. And that's a good reason or a good way of connecting with other kids, because I've got my book coming out, Becoming Bully Proof, and it's me as a 12-year-old, meeting me as Master Grogan 40 years later. And it's the older me teaching the younger me everything I wish I would have known. And it's pretty much everything I've tried to instill in our martial arts academy, teaching PE, coaching, speaking, and everything else. So was that an accurate assumption? You're just nothing but a little kid kind of trapped in an adult body, and you're trying to share the love and wisdom?
Absolutely. So my junior league program, you said it was largest in the country in 2020. I'm 44 years old, but I truly, mentally feel like I'm probably 12 or 13. Hopefully I'm more mature in a lot of areas. But for instance,
We'll ask Mandy, but
yeah, well, yeah, yeah, she's raising 4 kids, right? So, but no, absolutely. I enjoy the innocence and optimism, and that's kind of how I feel. Where sometimes I may be a little too blindly optimistic, but it helps you relate to kids more when you're that way, because you're just looking for the good and hoping everything's going to turn out well and doing your best. So
that's fantastic. Fantastic. So those are just tuning in. If you're watching the live stream here, please jump on, say hi to Mike. And if you've golfed at Oak Brook Golf Course, and if you're in the Edwardsville or surrounding areas, I'm sure you've golfed at least one round there. Chances are many, many more, and you've probably met and know Mike through the community. But say hi, or you've got him right here. Ask any question that's on your mind, maybe something you've always wondered about. And being a golf pro, it's always hole-in-ones. And I know your email address is aceon4. Is that by design, or was that your first hole-in-one, or?
Yeah, well, the internet, when I went to college in 1995, I had to come up with an email address. So I made it, at the time, I think I had 2 hole-in-ones on our 4th hole. So I just put Ace on 4, and that's what it is. No, everybody says Aceon or Akion. They don't get it unless they're a golfer. But yeah, I have a few hole-in-ones on 1 hole out here. So it ends up being a good email address.
Awesome. And as a reminder, you've got how many holes? You got 27 holes out there at Oak Brook?
27. Yep.
27.
So yeah, 9 of it's underwater right now, but the other 18 aren't. And but the water goes up and down, pretty quickly. My son and I went out and played Thursday, or no, we went out and played Tuesday on the East 9, and yesterday it was flooded. So, but it'll probably be back open next week.
Awesome. And of course, while we've got everybody listening here, just go to Oak Brook Golf and check that out. Make your reservations, your tee times, and of course, Mike hosts, just a plethora of tournaments. So tournaments, easy for me to say. And make sure you get those babies in soon, because they do book and they do fill up fast. And while we're talking about it here, do you have a new youth academy league starting up, or is that continuous?
Yeah, it's as it morphs, it ends up kind of being continuous, but it's mainly in the summer. It's called PGA Junior League. It's a national program. You have to be a PGA pro to coach it. I have 152 kids, I think, signed up, which is full for me. Last year I had 130, and I don't like telling people no, so I added a couple more, or 22 more kids. But it's just a great program. It's very similar to like Little League baseball for kids, in golf, but beginners, all the way up to kids who like tournament golf and maybe want to play in high school, things like that. But everybody kind of plays together and has a good time. It's fun for families too.
Well, that's fantastic. And folks, you heard Mike say that you have to be a PGA certified pro in order to be a part of this, which is fantastic, because, amateurs, we're all amateurs at something in amateur golf. I can go through and maybe break down the fundamentals, but if you want your kids shooting bogey golf, then you come to me. If you want your kids learning how to really play golf, then you go see Mike. And then that's the difference there. And it's definitely worth the investment. Or like you want to martial arts. Well, you come to us for martial arts, life skills, leadership, character development, bully proof, because that's what we specialize in. And the same thing. And I know growing up, a lot of times we had coaches that were just dads doing the very best they could to fill in. But on a lot of those teams, that's all we had was a fill-in team that didn't excel and didn't do very well. You want something special. You want your kid to really develop, and not only the golf skills, but knowing Mike for as long as I have, he preaches and the leadership, the respect, the manners, not only for the game, but for growing individuals. And of course, you can judge a lot by a person by seeing their kids. And Mike was humble enough to say that his wife pretty much raises him and 3 kids, but you see how incredible they are, and you see how incredible Mike is, and that's a testament to his parents and what he's passing down to the kids. So I always like to bring those things up, because there's so many others out there that, in their heart, they want to do the right thing. But if you want the best, you need to go see the best, and you want your kids to learn more than just golf. Go check out Mike at the Oak Brook Golf Club there, and see what it's all about. And Mike, how can they sign up? They can sign up online, I guess.
Yeah, well, like I said, mine is full, but the website, the national website, which I'm on the PGA, the national board for that, the committee, it's PGAJRLeague.com. You go in there, type in your zip code, and your closest program will pop up. There's other places in Edwardsville that run it, John DePriest out at Sunset, lots of places. But even if you're down in Florida, wherever you are, it's a national program. You can get on and play in Hawaii if you want. So Just get on there, check it out. It's very official. You'll see it's a professionally run website, and just PGAJRLeague.com.
Fantastic. Well, there you go, folks. You can take off lessons from Mike with your kids, and then have your kids get better at it, and then you can play in Pebble Beach and all over the world, and your kids can get a sponsorship, and especially our dads out there. There you go. Can you imagine how much greater would that be, right? Yeah. Have your kids pay for you to play all over the world golf. But for the time being, let's just go ahead and play at Oak Brook. And we've got another friend jumping up. Kara, and one of my favorite people back in Illinois. And I need to get Kara on the podcast too. So Kara, I know you're listening. She said, you both have been such positive influences in many young lives. You guys are wonderful people with great core values. And you too, Mandy. Well, now you got goosebumps. I'm going to run out of checks I got to write for all these people giving us shout outs here, Mike.
Yeah, well, I can't see him. That's good. So I'd be looking down all the time. But yeah, cool. It's kind of fun to be live.
Yeah. And I haven't quite figured this with the live stream here. I'm blessed because we can go and people can ask questions. And this app I'm using now, it's called Melon. It was I did some side-by-side comparisons, but I can broadcast and live stream to like 8 different platforms now. Some of them I just set up for this, but our popular ones are our Facebook pages and groups, and then of course our YouTube channel, Grogan's Bully Proof. Check that out, smack that bell, subscribe, and you can see I've got like 400 and something videos on there. So you can see a lot of past videos. You can see a lot of them when I was first learning how to do this live thing, and a lot of goof ups and mess ups, but they're all there, baby. Transparency. But Kara, thank you very, very much. We appreciate you, and I'm serious. We'll have to get you on the podcast. I'll send the sign up link, and you can talk about how wonderful your kids are doing as well. All right, Mike. So you kind of mentioned it without even being asked the questions, why you do what you do. But is there anything more that really drives you? Yes, you want to pass on the wisdom. Yeah, you want to pass on the knowledge. Yeah, you've got a passion that you've got your calling, and that's what you're really good at. But is there anything deeper? I mean, a really big reason, more than just teaching kids how to be better golfers.
Yeah, I out here at Oak Brook, I always feel indebted to my dad, he's 80 years old. He's still working every day. And then his dad, who it was his idea to build the place. And so I never got to meet him. He passed away in 1976. I was born in 77. But growing up, I always felt like I was given this gift. First off, I always feel like I won the parent lottery with my parents. And so as I got older, I started to realize how fortunate I was. And when you feel fortunate, you kind of want to make other people feel that way and give back. And, when you're younger and you want to make money and everything's about money and whatever, those things, as you get older, you realize that there's way more satisfaction in impacting somebody's life positively. And so, the more I do it, the more I kind of get addicted to it. And so when you can take a little kid who maybe doesn't have confidence, maybe doesn't have anything that they really enjoy to do, and they get to come out and you get to see them enjoy something, it's kind of like I'm giving somebody else a gift, the same gift that I was given. So I'm always driven by kind of honoring the past and trying to do my best to thank the people that have done so much for me. So that's why I'm driven.
Well, that's fantastic. And wow, articulated extremely well. It reminds me of the Zig Ziglar quote, right? How do you get everything in life you want? By simply helping enough other people get what they want and continuing to pass on that knowledge. And it's kind of that recipe of reciprocity, right? And it goes out and it comes right back, good or bad. And then it leads to, I'm going to throw another fancy word at you. I heard not too long ago, serendipity. Or serendipitous. You're constantly throwing good and positive energy out there, and it's going to come back. And then more comes back, it's going to fuel you. I'm all tongue twisted today. Fuel you to do even more. And that doesn't mean every day is sunshine and rainbows. Matter of fact, like you said today, it's raining and the back nine is flooded and underwater. And of course, it's one of those things you could be stomping around having a temper tantrum and saying, why is this happening? Why is this happening? And I'm sure there's some frustration, but as you said, hey, it happens. It's the Midwest. We're going to do what we can do and deal with what we can and then move on from there. And of course, that energy is definitely transparent in everything you do, Mike. So great stuff, buddy.
Thanks.
You're very,
very
welcome.
I was just talking yesterday. I had a girl that she's the first girl that I have coached that she's now playing college golf. And which when her parents, when they first come out, obviously your dream is that your daughter can get a college scholarship. Well, she's struggling a little bit mentally now. And yesterday she called. It's a rainy day, and you're trying to uplift somebody on a rainy day when they're not doing too well. But when it comes down to it, and a lot about what you talk about, it's internal versus external. You can sit and worry about the East 9 being flooded or the rainy day or what's going on in Ukraine or whatever, but you're better off spending time thinking about things you can control, internal stuff. And if you can do that more often, then your days are better because you're making your days better. You're not letting somebody else make your days worse. So, and that's why I try to have a good time. I obviously, if you talk to my wife, she says I'm happy all the time, but there are times that I struggle. And my brother passed away a few years ago. That's rough. And, but just knowing that you can impact people and you can make it however you want to make it. There are people that are in jail that are probably having a better day than people that aren't. And so, but that's why I appreciate what you do, because you're trying to spread that word of making people, internally more powerful. So, you have that armor like you talk about.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that, and thank you for explaining as well as you did. And God's blessing to you and your loved ones for your brother passing away. And that's one of the things, we never know why things happen, and we can wreck our brain continuously asking why, and it doesn't make it any easier. As a matter of fact, it just makes it worse. So, but still, blessings and strength to you and your loved ones.
Thank you.
So that brings up about the bulletproof armor. And the bulletproof armor is all about, and I talk about, and since you kind of brought it up there, somebody always asks, why do you think there's so much disrespect and so much bullying and so much hatred in the world? And the answer I always try and present is it's lack of self-respect. Because when people don't feel good about themselves on the inside, there's not a lot of self-respect. And if you don't respect yourself, it's nearly impossible to respect anything or anyone else. Yep. And it's, misery loves company. You've all heard that before. And it's sad, but it's like, I don't want to suffer alone. Let me help bring some other people into my suffering and misery. Why do we do that? We never like to be alone. And we think if somebody's doing better than we are, that apparently maybe they've done this or they've done that, or, they don't deserve to be happy. And I say all this from a place of utmost humility, because unfortunately, years and years ago, that was a lot of my mindset. I had what I call scarcity or fixed mindset, and couldn't understand why people were, more successful. And I was always in a battle with this person or that person. And the real battle, as you mentioned, Mike, was inside. Sure. It took a lot of humility and self-discovery to figure that out. And that's kind of the biggest message I try and share with others. And I'm so blessed to have you and other great guests on the show who not only share that message, but have a way of articulating it in a way that's going to connect with somebody in a way that maybe I couldn't. But I always like the example of, the ship. Ships, they don't sink from the water that surrounds them. They just move along and do what ships do. However, when that water gets inside, that's when the ships sink. Now, it's crazy. It could be out in the middle of the ocean and traveling, thousands and thousands of miles and having thousands and thousands of feet and gallons of water all around them, but they're moving along because that's what ships are made to do. But that ship becomes stagnant, stays in the port, or doesn't get the use, and then it allows all the negative influences, the holes to penetrate, and that water gets inside, that ship sinks. And a lot of us are built the same way. We can control the inside, but we can't control the outside. But I'll tell you this, the more you can control that inside, your influences, your input, who you surround yourself with, who you talk to, that's the input, the better shield, the better barrier, the bulletproof armor we're going to put up to protect that those negative arrows or that negative water from getting on the inside. Yep. And excellent what you do with the kids there. Excellent. So with your growing up and kind of knowing early, I'm guessing here that you had your gift. It took me a while to figure out what my gift was, and I know a lot of listeners, that's a big question I get a lot is, how do I know what my gift is? And the answer that I always give, and maybe you have a different answer for our listeners there, is it's the thing that you would do without even worry about getting paid. I mean, obviously you got to make money to pay bills. I get all that. But is it something you love to do that it just comes natural to you? And oftentimes people can see it in you that you can't see in yourself. And I always encourage people just to write things down. Just get pen and paper and start writing, and whatever, you're talking about, what I like to do, what I enjoy doing, what makes me feel good. And the things that repeat themselves, that's probably your subconscious mind, probably God telling you, hey, this is you, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, in my life, I grew up on a golf course. I guess I was very fortunate that it just so happened that that's what I'm passionate about. But, you know, when you talk about goals and living your dreams, everybody thinks you have a great life. My number one goal in my life for most of my life was to be on the PGA Tour. And I'm 44 years old. I'm not saying I can't get out there when I'm a senior, but it becomes less important as you have kids and a wife, and you know, selfish goals like that get a little bit harder to achieve. But you know, when you look at, if you're just going to look at me on paper, my number one goal in life, I haven't achieved. You know, so I could look at myself as a failure, or I could just, you know, learn from learn along the way. If you don't, I always say, if you don't enjoy the journey, you're not going to enjoy the destination. And you know, the journey is where all the learning is. But you know, in terms of passion, you know, one way to find what you like to do is write down what you don't like to do. Sometimes it's hard to find what you want to do, but I can write down a whole bunch of things that I don't want to do. And if you write down the things you don't want to do, you know, maybe you can eliminate those, and it clears it up a little bit more on what you do like to do. But, you know, if you can find something that you enjoy, where it's not work, you always hear those cliches that, you know, if it's not work if you enjoy it. But if you can do that, you're just you're better off for everybody. You're better off as a son, daughter, husband, wife, whatever. And just because you enjoy it. So when you come home from what you were doing, or when you leave to go do what you're doing, you're looking forward to it. And so I know it's hard for people to do that, but that could be volunteering as a YMCA coach on the side of doing what you normally do at your day job. You know, just something that's fulfilling to you, that gives you that positive energy that kind of keeps you fueled to keep going. So.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And your wife jumped on here, Mike. She said, "Uh-oh, now Mike is going to come home and tell me to turn off the news."
Oh yeah, no. What she does, she is, in terms of what's going on in the world. My wife knows as much as anybody you see talking on. I mean, that's interesting to her, and she is good at it, great at it, has great intuition. Mothers have intuition that I don't understand. And I wish I did understand, but yeah, no, I wouldn't be anywhere close to where I am without her. So
That's what a good supportive, and more than just a pillar, just someone that can. I mean, I'm the same thing. We've been married 25 years, Desi and I, and been together a lot longer than that. And I've given her every reason in the world to not only leave me, but to never talk to me again. And for some unknown reason, she stayed by my side and been so supportive through all our failures and missteps. And I know you got a wonderful wife in Mandy there, but it's also, and yes, don't get too wrapped up in the news, but I'm a big believer in keeping an open mind, thinking, doing your own research, and not being spoon-fed something. That's something we talk about the academy all the time. I tell the kids, look, you wouldn't like it if mom and dad came to school and you're in middle school and they take the fork and spoon and say, all right, okay, Mikey, open up and eat your bites. You'd be like, no, get away. You'd be embarrassed to death. But oftentimes, as adults, we allow the media to spoon feed us because it's easy. I encourage people to do your own research, get out there and think for yourself. And most importantly, I think the biggest thing you brought up, which is the number one thing I bring up in women's self-protection workshops, is ladies, trust your gut. And you get that tingling, something ain't right. Don't ignore it. Trust it. And that's kind of the number one safety tip I talk about in the self-protection workshops is self-awareness. Being aware of your surroundings, self-awareness, being aware of what you let in your mind, but also being self-aware of what your gut is telling you. And if it's telling you something just isn't right, gosh darn it, the majority of the time, it isn't right. Go with that gut feeling, because that's kind of your sixth sense, if you will, or the lady's intuition, and you go with that thing. And just a little bit of self-defense here, talking to, I got a bunch of ladies jumping on, and thank you so very much. Eye contact when you're walking out from the store or you're at the gas station. Look around. I'm not saying live paranoid. No ninjas are going to jump out of the tree at you, but look around and just be aware. If that guy gives you the heebie-jeebies or the creeps there, keep an eye on him. And you're walking out from the store, be aware of that. Have your keys ready in hand. That's self-awareness. And the more you start practicing self-awareness, the more aware you're going to be of everything, not just the surroundings around you, but also what input you allow in your mind, or if you're being spoon-fed. And that goes for not only the ladies there, but for us men and teens and kids that listen to the show as well, what you plant is what you get. The muscles you work or the muscles are going to grow. And I always talk about working your perseverance, but also your perseverance muscles, opposed to you give up and quit muscles, but also your self-inflection muscles, also your self-awareness muscles. Work those things and just be aware of what's going on. And a lot of that means you got to put this thing down and see what's going on in the world.
Hey,
Good
speaking
stuff.
of that, my wife, we have a phone that we lock our kids' phones up in this little kitchen box, and they have to detox from a phone one day a week. It's fantastic, and they just instantly realize how much they're looking at a phone. Now they have a phone that only makes phone calls. It's this little piece of plastic. It doesn't even look like a phone. But yeah, it's yeah. Everybody has gifts. And sometimes people don't get to realize them, but I have seen many times where parents in general, just the intuition that, like you were talking about, that gut feeling they have, how important it is. But if you're not paying attention to what you're thinking about, bully proofing yourself or talking positively yourself, you may not recognize that, and so you may say, hey, maybe we shouldn't go out and drive in this thunderstorm. And you may feel that, but if you got other things going on and you're looking at Facebook and you're checking out TikTok videos, you might just let it pass by. But if you can kind of slow down and pay attention to what's going on, that intuition can definitely make your life better. Even business decisions or who you meet, and looking around, maybe your husband or wife is sitting somewhere across the room from you and you're staring at your phone.
Anybody want to raise their hand? Guilty?
Future husband or wife, yeah, and present, yeah.
Yeah, and just last night, we got home. Emmett was playing hockey down here in Florida, and he finally put the biscuit in the basket. He got his first goal in Florida. He's been working hard, and but he's been coming up short. But he continues to battle, persevere, and he finally put one in and tied the score at 3-3. And then it was a pretty it was a hard fought goal. It crashed the net, and the rebound came out. And anyway, it lifted his team up, and they scored a goal a minute later and winning the game. So last night, we're actually watching some hockey when we got home, and now we're on the East Coast time zone where the Blues were playing Vancouver. So that's a 3-hour gap on the West Coast. So we're watching the game here, and I posted the thing about his goal and this and that, and I caught myself, instead of watching the game, reading the comments and the likes on the post that I posted, kind of bragging on them, and I was excited about that. But here he is sitting right next to me, and he goes, "Hey, Dad, you see that save?" And I'm like, "What the heck am I doing here?" And it was, you get so locked in that you forget. I mean, that's the addictive nature of these gosh darn things. Yes, they do serve a good purpose if used in a good way. But on the other side, boy, you get locked in, you just lose track of absolutely everything out there. And, I forgot what it was called, the social experiment or something.
Oh, yeah. Social dilemma, that
social
show.
dilemma.
Yeah.
And they talk about, the founders of the like button on Facebook are the same kind of people that design slot machines in Vegas. Why? It addicts you. You cannot get away. And if you've got an addictive personality, which I definitely do, one, I hate to lose. So that's not a good quality for gambling. And then, of course, it's never enough, right?
Right.
I could do more.
And you're optimistic, which is even worse.
Yeah.
Next time it's going to be better.
Absolutely. Anybody else raise your hand on that one? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff. Well, thank you, Mandy, for chiming in there, and that would have led into all kinds of conversations. But I want to circle back. I probably shouldn't say that, especially if Mandy's listening.
No,
but
she knows who Jen Psaki is. Yeah, she heard circle back.
I would love to say I'd planned to say that, but I'm not that intelligent, so it just popped out. But anyway, kids' phones and detox.
Oh, something paused. What do we have there? Somehow I'm paused, I think. Or you're paused. I can't hear you. If I'm your video has stopped, so I don't know how that happened, but it still shows I'm live. So if you're talking, I'll just keep quiet.
Oh, we switched places.
There we go.
Okay. Well, so viewers, I like that. We switch places.
Yeah.
That's the magic trick. Those listening to the podcast, like, what the heck are you talking about? Well,
Yeah.
that's the beauty of watching the live stream. So if you weren't watching the live stream here, you couldn't have seen what just happened. Poof. But anyway, Mike, to get back to the phone detox, and I'd kind of said that I'm sure for some parents it's going to be like the jaws of life trying to pry the phone out of the kid's hands. But man, oh man, share with us how you do that. Do you have a designated day of the week that you do that with the kids? And I'm sure it wasn't easy at first, but now, bang.
Yeah, well, hey, and the other thing is they learn math, because when they put it in there, they put it in the box at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they put 24 hours, and they weren't thinking that 24 hours is the next day, and now it's not going to be charged for the following day. So they learn time and math also. But yeah, we do it. We're not. I wouldn't say we're super strict with it, but there are times when they actually want to do it. And they'll say, I got to put my phone in the box, and they'll just put it in there for 4 hours. You can fit every phone in the house in there. But when you start thinking about how much time you're looking at that thing and what you're looking at really too, I mean, most of it is just mindless comparing yourself to other people or seeing people on vacation while you're sitting in Illinois or, and then it brings about a lot of negativity. Although the thing can provide unbelievable positivity, that's not what you get addicted to. And so, but yeah, I would encourage it. It's great for the kids, and you can actually talk to them, and they look at you when you're talking to them. They're not staring at a phone, not paying attention. And same for me and Mandy. It's freeing, to say the least.
Yeah, you kind of break free from that matrix. I often think of was that silly movie, Daddy's Home 2, when all the kids are on the device and they're like locked in, and he does something or claps his hands and like, oh, or the TV goes out. That's it. They're watching the TV.
Yeah.
They snap out of it.
Yeah.
But no, and one of my mentors that well, I encourage folks, you hear me mention this just about every show, get yourself some type of mentor, somebody you admire and respect, but at the same time, someone is not going to tell you all the time what you want to hear, but tells you what you need to hear. And that's painful. You oftentimes don't want to hear that, but that's why you pay them. And that's why, or you surround yourself with them. And people often say, well, you're always talking about getting a new group of friends. Now, that doesn't mean you leave everybody behind. I'm just saying that it's something I talk about a lot. It's engines and anchors. The engines are going to drive and push you forward, talking about future successes, talk about what they're doing, maybe the books they're reading, the people they're surrounding themselves with, to help empower you, not make you feel bad, but empower you to do a little bit more. Where anchors are kind of like the crabs in the bucket. They don't want you leaving, because if you leave, then it's like, man, I could do what they did, but I'm just not willing to. Now, it doesn't mean you can't help those folks, but at the same time, you're climbing that ladder of success. Take one hand off to pull somebody else up, but never take both hands off, because they will pull you down. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But what Chris Widener, he gets a shout out about every show here. He's got like 20 something books out. He did a TV show with Zig Ziglar, wrote a best-selling book called 12 Pillars with Jim Rome. I highly recommend it. But what he's always reminded me of, look, your greatest strength, if unchecked, will oftentimes be your greatest weakness. Meaning, I used to think that I was never diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, and all the other Ds that I got. But I'm quite sure that I've got it on some level or not. I used to think that was a curse. And it's like, why can't I be like everybody else? Why can't I fit in? Why do I have so much energy? Now I realize that's actually a gift that drives me to do things that maybe others aren't willing or have the energy to do. But at the same time, it also leads to a little obsessive compulsive, and also leads to that I can't lose attitude, which is a good driving force. But once again, if it's out of balance there, holy cow, it can be a quickly become an enemy. And then the comparison of others, as you brought up, Mike, with on social media. And Teddy Roosevelt says, comparison is the thief of joy. If we're constantly saying, why can't I be as good a golfer as Mike? Why can't I have a family like Mike has? Why can't I, have a wonderful wife like Mandy, or have 3 great kids? Or why can't my parents still be alive? All those why can'ts, you're eliminating all the good that you have going on in your life, because you're comparing yourself to Mike. Well, you never see what Mike has to go through in order to have those. It's not bad, but he's got his struggles too. So the whole point of that is, don't get in the comparison game, because you can never win. Never win. If you're saying I'm never going to be as good as him, but at least I'm not as bad as her, what are you doing now? You're putting yourself down by comparing somebody else, and now you're putting somebody else down by saying you're not as bad as they are. It's a no-win situation.
Absolutely. And when you talk about, your friend circle, being in the golf business, I have, my friends from high school, I don't get to spend much time with them. They're still my friends, but I'm working a lot. And if I'm not working, I'm hanging out with my family. But the internet is fantastic. I mean, even getting on this podcast and watching you weekly, you're going to be in their circle then, and you're going to get to know those people. And you're talking about Tom Ziegler. You probably didn't meet him before you read his books. You start reading, and these people are out there. If you can, and if I like to read history, a lot of times you sit and you're looking around and you think about how bad everything is. And, I can't believe, what if World War III happens and whatever. If you read to what George Washington went through a couple hundred years ago, or Abraham Lincoln, or anybody in America, or even in any other country, even the Roman Empire, the things, their life expectancy, the things they had. I was reading that I think the average human being takes in more information in one day than a person that lived in the 1400s took in their whole entire lifetime. So, things are bad. Cancer is bad. COVID is bad. Sickness, family, losing your job. But you have so many things to be grateful for. And there's so many resources you have now, to where somebody like Tom Ziegler or Zig Ziglar was just a guy that wrote a book 30 years ago. Unless you went to his, one of his conferences, you were never even going to see him. But now you can get an email Tom Ziegler and talk to him and become friends with him. So, that circle, the opportunity to be around better people is there's definitely more opportunity for it.
Oh, boom. Yeah. Mic drop there.
Yeah.
No, but you're exactly right. And Jim Rome, back to him, he'd said you are a percentage of the 4 to 5 people you surround yourself with the most. You surround yourself with people that are readers, people that are, diving into history, people that are actively trying to find information and open their mind to see what else is out there to pursue that better life or to live that best kick in life. My gosh, you're going to be doing the same. And there's nothing wrong with, reminiscing on the past from time to time, but you just can't live in the past world because that is gone. I had somebody on, which is a good friend and a mentor as well, Professor Brandon Beliso, and he once said, if you're spending so much time in the past, it's almost like you're straddling the road. You got one foot in the past, one foot in the future, and you're there. Well, you're basically just peeing on the present, which is right there in front of you because you're so wrapped up with everything else. And you don't take the time to enjoy, to live the moment. And I get it. As you said, the amount of information that the human mind takes in on a daily basis, I didn't realize it was a lifetime's worth that they do in the 14th century. But I mean, it makes sense. My gosh, we are just flooded, boom, 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 with information at all times. It can get confusing. It can get demoralizing. It can get depressing. And then also at the same time, it's exhausting. And when you're exhausted, you cannot be, as you mentioned earlier, Mike, the best father, the best husband, the best golf pro, the best son, the best son-in-law, just the best community service member in Edwardsville, because you are mentally exhausted. That's why you do need to have that phone detox. I like that. Or meditation. And in martial arts, I've meditated for as many years as I can remember, but I was never very consistent with it. And of course, just like going to the gym. Well, you know what? I would go, but I don't have time. Well, I would do this, but I really don't have time. Well, we all got the same 24 hours in the day. We all got the same 1,440 minutes in the day. We all got the same 86,400 seconds in the day. Now, how did I learn all that? From reading a book. I didn't used to know those things, but it meant something to me because I got in the thing of saying, well, I'd love to do that, but I don't have time. And I understand everybody's busy, but prioritize your time for the things that are important, that are going to give you more time. And if you make time to go to the gym, make time to go for a walk, you make time to maybe head to the golf club and get a few rounds, and you make time to put down the phone to spend with the kids, it's going to enhance your present time, which I guarantee is going to enhance your future time as well. And learn from the past, just don't live there. Yes, prepare for the future, just don't live there. Work right now and work with the present, because that's all we got. And of course, Kung Fu Panda, it's a gift. Why? It's a present. It's a gift. So enjoy it.
That's why they say the rear view mirror is real small and the windshield's a lot bigger. But but the other thing about like the phone and kids, when you talk about just self-confidence, believing in yourself, and respecting yourself, which obviously martial arts teaches that, and golf does also. But the thing about kids with the cell phone and with the internet, I tell the juniors I have all the time, they are infinitely smarter than I was when I was 12 years old. And a lot of times when you're a little kid, you see these adults and adults are telling you everything to do. And, you kind of feel oppressed by it. But the one thing you can, if you're 12, 13, 14, and you're getting on the internet and you have access, the amount of knowledge you have is far beyond what you and I had when we were kids. So now, if you're looking at that positively, when you're in our position 20 years down the road, just think how great you're going to be because you had all that information rather than it doesn't have to be a burden if you're comparing yourself to others and it's bringing you down, obviously, but just the knowledge you have. I mean, even my kids in school, I'm trying to help them with 10th grade math. And it's like, I felt like I was pretty good in math, but then you can just get on the internet. And if you know what you're doing, find answers for everything that, before you had to get an encyclopedia out to look up, what Mesopotamia looked like. Now you can go and print 7,000 pages on it. So, for the kids out there, if you can just have that belief in yourself that you're going to be great because God put you here for some reason, but just know that you're smart and, you have so many resources that if you can just enjoy it and help people along the way, you're going to have a great opportunity later in life.
Oh, fantastic. So kids that are listening, I hope you heard all of that. Sometimes as kids and definitely as men here, we have selective hearing. We hear what we want to hear, and then we disregard everything else that we don't want to hear. Kind of gets back to having a good mentor that tells us what we need to hear. Yes, you can use that as leverage with your parents to say, hey, Golf Pro Mike said I can look up stuff on my phone or on the internet. Yes, you can, but the selective hearing part may have just heard looking up stuff.
Right.
The part that you need to hear is looking up things like Macedonia and how to do math problems or history and things that, we used to have an encyclopedia. So our younger listeners, encyclopedia is that big, huge volume book that you actually had to go to a library to get and look up. And a library is a place that has books. You get a card.
Yeah. And people used to make a living going door to door selling them. Probably made a fortune.
Oh, yeah. Encyclopedia salesman.
When you get back to that, though, I tell my kids we're lucky that we live in America, where the one saying I always say is hard work works. And I tell my own kids in this society where everything comes instantly to a lot of people, or they think it should come instantly. If you can persevere and not grind, grind in a good way. If you can just keep on keeping on and work hard, it's going to be amazing how far ahead you can get because a lot of people are complacent that everything is so easy. But in the end, the people that have the most have done the most, and when you talk about hardships, I don't know if I've ever read a story about anybody that was successful that didn't have hardships. And probably, somewhat times I feel like I haven't had any hardships, so I haven't had that motivation. And I could feel, I haven't had anything bad happen to me, which I obviously have had bad things happen to me, but a lot of great people have gone through so much, but that's what's made them great. They realize where they came from and how they can give back. And so just because times are tough, that might be the greatest thing that ever happened to you, really.
That's what kind of builds that mettle, builds that perseverance, it builds that strength. And we often hear that, man, I can't believe this challenge. Man, this is so much harder. Well, it wouldn't be a challenge if it wasn't hard. Now, that's not a cop-out. I don't like having bad days. I don't like having things go wrong. But those challenges are what drive us and push us forward. Now, John Maxwell would often talk about if you're a level 2 problem solver and you got a level 4 problem, man, that is like, holy cow, that's a life-changing problem. But if you improve your problem-solving skills through reading, education, surround yourself with the right type of people, listen to shows like this one, and following people like Mike and others that are doing the things that they've persevered, then you improve your problem-solving skills. So now suddenly you become a level 5 problem solver. Now, if you're a level 5 problem solver, a level 4 problem, that doesn't even matter. It may not even register on your radar because it's like, oh, that's not a big deal. You handle it, you move on. So what happens now? You're going to have level 6 problems where you continuously drive yourself to learn how to solve those problems. And as you said, Mike, that no one likes to have struggles, but it's those struggles and those challenges what drive us and push us forward. Obviously, during the lockdown, that was tough for all of us, especially entrepreneurs and small business owners, those working that work in person. My gosh, but we found a way. We found a way to overcome, to battle through, to succeed. And through that, hopefully, we set a good example for others. Like, oh, you know what? Those guys may have had it rough. They may have been down. They may have had some, and I had all those things. I'm fortunate and blessed that I had equipment to beat up on because I had some severe anger of not understanding. But I never share that stuff publicly. It's not that I'm hiding it, but I go to my resources that can help me with those. And I say that because oftentimes kids and parents listen to your kids. Yes, Mike and I encourage them to look up profitable and successful things online, but at the same time, you need to make sure you know who they're associating with online, because there's a lot of predators out there. There's a lot of ones that they're looking for kids that are down, they're depressed, they have anxiety, they're calling out for help. And there's a lot of people out there that have ill will and ill intentions. So make sure that's the awareness I talk about. You own that phone, you own that device. Make sure your kids know that, and make sure you know who they're following.
Absolutely. Yeah. I tell my kids all the time. And when I say my kids, I'm talking mainly about my three, but I also have a lot of juniors out here. When you're 14, 15, 16, you feel very intelligent. And then as you get older, you see when you were 14, 15, 16, you weren't that intelligent. Your brains aren't totally formed yet. And there's a reason why you can't do certain things till a certain age. And the phone has really, I would assume when my kids are parents, that there will maybe be limitations on, it's not good for back 80 years ago, 12-year-old kids were smoking and drinking. That's fine, but no one knew. Now, if you saw a 12-year-old smoking, their parents would probably be, DCFS would come by. And it may be the same with phones, and texting and driving. It just blows my mind when you drive down the road how many people are looking at a phone, and I'm not saying you shouldn't worry about the flu or COVID or cancer, but going 80 with a phone in your hand, is you're much more likely to get injured with that than, getting cancer from whatever, being exposed to something outside. So, or COVID or the flu, but people don't think about those things. And when your kids, obviously your parents are, they want you to be your best. And that's what we're trying to do. Maybe we're not always right, but we're trying to do our best. And, if you can just understand that as you get older, your intuition, you still have it. You still know it's not the smart thing to jump off the bridge into the creek. But when you're 12 or 14, it's a little bit more reasonable than when you're 30. But I just, kids have great opportunity, but they also have a lot of obstacles out there, a lot of people out there that are trying to bring them down. So the more the parents can help them navigate, obviously, the better off they're going to be.
Fantastic. And yeah, parents, that like, man, I listened to the show to feel better. Now you're making me feel bad about a parent. No, we're not making you feel bad. Yeah. We're giving you a right hook reality, baby.
I feel bad every day about things I do, but that's why we listen to you or read a book from, Tom Maxwell or, Tom Ziegler. There's other people that have perspective that have done it before you to where you can learn from it. And that's what we're trying to do with our kids, too. Also, it's not a bad thing. You can't go back and change what's bad. Sometimes, like I said, the bad is what makes you better. If you didn't ever do anything wrong, how would you get any better at anything, so.
Thomas Edison, he with few failures is he who hasn't lived. And, you've got to, as much as we don't like to make mistakes, that's what grows and pushes us. And, Miss Desiree Benehoff from the Chamber, we love you, Des. Thank you. And she said, I think my earlier comment disappeared, but it's really great seeing two of my favorite business people on this live chat together. God bless you, Des. Mike saying, hey. Yeah. And just a reminder, if you're just tuning in, we got Mike Sherry from Oak Brook Golf Course, the owner, entrepreneur, golf pro, and just wonderful community service advocate for the Edwardsville, Illinois community and surrounding areas. Jump on here, zip in a question, and if you're just now joining us, we're getting close to the end here, but you can go back and listen to it again, or you can tune in and subscribe to our podcast, Grogan's Bully Proof. It's available worldwide on any podcast app. Simply subscribe, smack that bell on YouTube, Grogan's Bully Proof, so you get notified of any new video, any new podcast that comes up. And of course, if we've earned it here, give us that 5-star review, because that 5-star review will push us higher in the search engines and people will find us a little quicker. And the same thing, Google reviews. If you go to our martial arts academy and we've earned it, man, give us that review, that shout out on Facebook and Google. And the same thing, you go to the Oak Brook Golf Course and you see Mike and his family there working hard and doing everything they can. Give them a shout out and a 5-star review as well, because that really, really helps. It seems like people always take time to complain, but they rarely take time to compliment and say what went right and what they felt good about. So same thing. You get in the habit of always complimenting, always doing the right thing. And I'm not saying be false or lie about it, but just get in the habit of appreciating and noticing the small things. You're going to notice more of them. Once again, we seem to take time to always notice the wrong. Let's start noticing the good, and you'll find there's a lot of good out there. And it was a live stream I did on a Feel Good Friday just recently about get out and yeah, maybe not today if it's a rainy day out, but get out there and, meet your neighbors, walk your dog, get out there and see the beauty that God created. If we stay confined indoors or we stay confined to the phone, all we're going to see is what's there. And a lot of times that's doom and gloom. Get out there, enjoy the beauty.
Absolutely. That's why golf's such a great, that's one thing, the gift that I hope I'm giving to all these kids and families is just being outside, and COVID has helped golf a lot in that way because you didn't have much else to do. But you talk about COVID and the business. We were down to nothing, and we've been this is our 50th year, and the bank account in April of 2020 was like at zero, literally at zero. And my dad's like, I've worked my whole life, and here I am with nothing. Obviously we have the land and the stuff, but your whole business life's on the line. And rode around on mowers. It was me and my dad and a few other guys riding around on mowers, nobody else out on the course. And you learn a lot. You start maybe feeling bad for yourself, but then when you're out there riding around on a mower and you see nature and you see a squirrel running by or listening to a podcast, God's not going to give you anything that you can't get through. And, it's if you look at them as opportunities rather than obstacles, but I just really appreciate you doing this. There needs to be more of this around. You like you said, you're always being force fed the bad news. I don't even watch local news anymore because it's 20 minutes of bad news and then a couple of sports stories. And by that time I'm so depressed, then I'm going to bed. It's just depressing, but there's a lot of great people out there. And there's a lot of great people in your neighborhood. There's a lot of people doing wonderful things right next door that if you don't ever say hi to them, you may not ever know. So, but just thanks for doing this, because this is a great resource for anybody listening.
I appreciate it, Mike. Thank you very much. And obviously continue doing what you're doing. I give the analogy all the time about, the pebble in a pond, and that analogy, for those that haven't heard it yet, you pick up a pebble and you throw it in a pond. Well, it lands in the middle of the pond. What happens? It ripples, right? Those ripples continue to ripple out. And that ripple effect is going to impact, more than you could ever imagine. So if I'm throwing a pebble, Mike's throwing a pebble, and we got so many of you, and Desra and Mandy and Kara and David says, thank you for all you do. I really enjoyed the positivity that's missing in the world. Thank you, David. We appreciate you listening and taking the time out of your busy day, truthfully. And pass this on to your friends and neighbors. I always like to say, look, if you found value, share this with someone else. And that's the way that, once back to the ripple, I'm throwing a pebble, Mike's throwing a pebble, we're all throwing a pebble. Well, if collectively we pick up a massive boulder and throw that thing in, my gosh, that's going to do more than create ripples. That's going to flood the banks. And unfortunately, on the negative side, that's what the news talks about. If it bleeds, it leads is kind of their campaign slogan. And then why? And people often ask, why is that? Well, it creates fear. And if you're fearful, now you're going to be easily controlled, because you're going to do what you can. You want to protect your family. You want to protect your kids. You want to be in the know. You want to know what's going on. So you live in this fear panic state. But in that fear panic fight or flight state, what happens is cortisol is being released throughout your body, and your cortisol is your fight or flight chemical. And when you're a fight or flight, it's back in the prehistoric days, if you were to be attacked by a saber-toothed tiger, well, you need all the cortisol you can get to give you that, either to fight the saber-toothed tiger off or to outrun it. Well, by out moving, that cortisol gets flushed out. But by us sitting behind a screen or sitting and watching the news, we're sitting there. So that cortisol, it stays in our body. And the fight or flight, what it does is all your immune system, your digestive system, your growth system, all that shuts down to prepare for that combat with that saber-toothed tiger. That's how prehistoric our brains are. But when that happens, now our bodies are not functioning the way they should be. So that's why when you watch the news, if you watch the news, the media, what commercials do you see? digestive commercials, growth hormone commercials, psychiatric commercials, mental and depression commercials, all those because they know they put you in a panic-induced state, and now they're going to give you the subscription or the remedy for what they put you in. It's insane.
Yeah.
So if it bleeds, it leads, and that's how they get paid. So kind of went a long way around there to talk about throwing a pebble in a pond.
Yeah. But if you
You're
don't,
right about getting outside.
if you're
It's
not paying
fantastic.
attention to it, if you're not looking around, if you don't recognize it, you don't recognize it. And I mean, you could spend years of your life not recognizing what's going on. And even if you're having a terrible day, there's somebody else in your family there that can share it with you or can help you out, or you can still help them having a bad day. I always have my kids. I try to read Medal of Honor stories to my kids just to tell them what a human being can actually do when they have loyalty and love, and and we're all the same though. I mean, not everybody has the same gifts, but everybody's got something. And there's a lot of people that have done a lot more than you and I have with a whole lot less. And, but that's what drives me to do better every day. When I get done, when I'm laying there and it's over, hopefully I've done as much as I can with what I had. And that's all you can really do. And enjoy it along the way and try to help other people do that also.
That's fantastic. Gosh darn. Well, folks, what do you think? Good show? Did you pick up a lot? Some golden nuggets? Well, those that listen once again to the live stream, I encourage you on Monday, this will air on the podcast, and it's episode number 309 on the Grogan's Bullyproof podcast. So make sure you listen to it a second time because you're going to pick up on something you missed the first time. I've got my dog Dallas in here, and if you maybe hear her crying there, she's normally in here helping me do the podcast because if somebody comes to the door, she's barking and woofing, so I got her in here with me.
She's got a timer on her. She knows an hour's up.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So you give me the puppy treat, and now it's time for me to go for a walk. Yeah. Mike, did you have anything you wanted to leave with the folks and folks listening? Thank you so very, very much. Bandy says, I love it. Good stuff. That you wanted to share kind of a last nugget takeaway that you'd like to leave with the folks?
My favorite quote, I have two favorite quotes. Abraham Lincoln said, prepare and someday I will prepare and someday my chance will come. And then the other one is John Wooden. It says, you can never live a perfect day until you do something for somebody who can never repay you. So two good things to live by. Even if you're having a bad day, you can make it a perfect day by going out and doing something for somebody, and always be prepared.
Gosh darn. Well, nothing more needs to be said. You got me all tongue tied. Well, Mike, thank you. Did you enjoy being on the show?
That's awesome.
I know you probably do a lot of these things, so I appreciate your time.
I don't. I enjoy learning. I mean, I look up to you and listening to you, and just that's why I call you when when COVID was going on. I wanted you to talk to the kids. We were going to plan this thing that never worked out, but just appreciate you. And the world is a better place because of people like you.
Wow. And folks, that's the real reason I have people like Mike on. I know they're going to make me feel good about myself. So thank you. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you and your family and your loved ones. I'll be back in Illinois in May and June. So usually the trips are pretty quick, but I'm going to try and stay a little longer, and maybe I can get a chance to come out and see you at the club. Sure. And our friends, I know Desi, we'd talked about grabbing lunch together, so we'll definitely have to do that as well. All right. Well, folks, thank you so very much for your time and being, all your comments and listening. Regardless what my intentions are for doing this, well, my intentions are to impact millions and millions and millions. But it starts with that pebble in the pond and getting that word out. So I humbly ask that if you found value with this, please share it with someone else in order to continue to pass that on. And in order to make my kind of mission and purpose in life is make society a happier, healthier, and safer place to live by empowering kids, parents, teens, and adults with hope and self-confidence to believe in themselves, overcome their fears, battle through their challenges, to live what I call their best kick in life. Well, good stuff. Well, as a reminder, the book launch, the book's coming out, Becoming Bullyproof, April 26th. Mark that on your calendars and follow me online. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Grogan's Bullyproof. Subscribe to the podcast, and make sure as soon as the weather clears up there in Illinois, if you're in the Edwardsville surrounding areas, get your tail out to Oak Brook Golf Course and see Mike and see the beautiful course facilities he has out there. And if you have a kid that's interested in golf and life skills leadership, sign him up at Mike's junior clinic out there. And then, of course, I'm sure they've got golf lessons for adults as well, which will really help improve your game. Makes the game more fun when you're a little better at it and struggling. Absolutely. All right, folks, I love you. God loves you. Mike loves you. His wife loves you. We all love you. Please get out there, share that love with the world. And until we talk again, you get out there and do your best. And I promise you'll be your very best. You'll become bully proof. Yeah. And you'll live your best kick in life. God bless you. God bless your loved ones. Thank you so very much, Mike. Thank you so very much, listeners. Have a blessed day. We'll chat with you real soon. God bless everybody.